Right, okay guys, welcome to the Friday Waffle. It's Friday night and it's 21:36. I hope you've all had a decent week. I've just had another daft busy week at work. Been at the gym a few times. What else have I done? Have I done anything? I went to spin class, which is at the gym. Not a great deal. Not a great deal gaming wise. In fact, you know what? I put the PlayStation 4 on last night. I thought I'll play some video games. I put it on and I spent about 10 minutes just going through games. And you know what? I couldn't be arsed playing anything. There was nothing at all that really struck me. I thought, I want to play that. And it's just kind of reaffirmed that I'm absolutely not losing my mojo for games. I do still like playing video games. I just think I'm getting bored with modern consoles. Which is probably a good thing, because it means that when the PlayStation 5 comes out, or the next big console comes out, I probably won't bother buying it. I say I probably. There's a distinct possibility I will. But hopefully my common sense will prevail. Excuse me, I've got windy pops. Hopefully my common sense will prevail, and I'll decide not to get it. I mean, I've got a mate who he always ends up getting, you know, the latest console, but he usually leaves it about 2 years. So by the time he buys it, he's getting it for like 100 quid. Whereas if you're obviously a day one release person like I've been in the past, you're paying top dollar for machines. I mean, I've got a Nintendo Switch, which really hardly gets used. My daughter does play it. I've touched on it, you know, very, very briefly. I've not played it enough to really warrant buying it, but like I say, Ava does play it. The biggest waste of money ever for me would be the Xbox One. I bought it maybe, I don't know, about 2 years ago, just because it was the one console I didn't own. And I can, you know what, I could probably say I've played it less than a dozen times, which is just daft. I did actually think about selling it maybe about a year ago, until I realised that because it was second hand, and obviously the new Xbox, I don't even know what I mean, that's how much I'm into video games, into modern video games. I don't even know what the latest Xbox is. You've got the PlayStation 4 Pro, then Microsoft brought out an Xbox something or another. I don't even know what it's called. That, like I say, that's how much I'm kind of into modern video games. But yeah, I've played it maybe a dozen times, which is a bit silly. And when I looked at, you know, selling it, I was going to get 50 quid for it, so I didn't even bother. Still play the MAME cab. I mean, I still do. That is the go-to machine for me. I think the best thing I did when I moved into this house was put the MAME cab in the kitchen, because it just means that I can be making a frozen pizza, putting a pizza in the oven, 10 minutes, I can get a game of Berserk. You know, I do play that quite a bit. I love the fact that I can just go for a quick game, you know, and do whatever I'm actually doing. But aye, so anyway, Friday night, what have I got planned this weekend? I'm actually going into Glasgow tomorrow. I'm staying over in a hotel, and I'm also we're going out for a nice meal. And I'm then going to, there's a rock club in Glasgow called the Cat House. Now, if any of my Scottish chums are watching this, I wonder if any of you guys know about it. It's been there for a long time. It's a heavy metal club. I've only been once, or twice. I've maybe been twice in my life. The last time was probably, I don't know, 20 years ago. No, in fact, tell a lie, I think it would be 2001, something like that. So it's been a wee while. So we're going to go along there tomorrow night after a meal. So quite looking forward to that. But tonight I'm just kind of chilling out. I'm in the process of getting some work done in the house. I've had a mate, he's been up putting new doors in the house. There's 2 guys coming tomorrow to do my garden. When I moved into this house, the grass was literally 6 feet tall, and because it was so long, it was impossible to cut it really. You know, it was going to be an absolute ball ache. So one of my mates came over, sprayed all the grass with chemicals, and I've got two guys coming tomorrow. They're going to lay some chips and they're going to put in some decking, because where my garden is, I actually get the sun. It kind of faces west, and I get the sun, and it's really, really nice. So looking forward to getting used to my garden, because right now the dogs go out for a pish and they get, because it's just grass, it's muddy. Obviously you got a lot of rain in Scotland, and they come in and they just bloody walk mud everywhere, which is nothing short of annoying. So getting that done tomorrow. But that's been it really. Yeah, been stupid busy at work as always. Some things never ever change. The weather's been kind of up and down. It was really nice yesterday, and today it was really nice during the day, but then it got really, really cold. I was actually at a funeral today. I forgot to mention that, and sadly the guy that his funeral I was at was actually murdered. It's the first funeral I've been where, you know, it wasn't an illness that killed somebody. Very, very sad. I was delighted to see a massive turnout of people for the guy. So anyway, like, listen, I don't even know if I've got any questions from last week, but I think I touched on last week about piracy. The piracy is one of these things that kind of goes hand in hand with video games. It always has, and I was going to say it always will, but I don't think that's the case now. I mean, I'm sure in the early days when it was cartridge based, you know, the Atari 2600, there was really no such thing as piracy. Not that I'm aware of. I can only speak from sort of personal experience. I didn't have an Atari 2600, but yeah, I don't think there was any piracy then. But when put my teeth back in again, when computers came along, obviously you could buy blank cassettes. I think the big thing about piracy, if you're able to buy the media that games are on, then there's always going to be some clever guy that's able to hack it. So like cartridges, your normal Tom, Dick and Harry isn't going to have blank cartridges and is it an EEPROM burner, whatever it is, I don't know. You would need some kind of chip to burn the chip. So back in the early days, you know, cartridges, I don't think piracy was really an issue. When computers came along, you had obviously tapes, you had discs, floppy disks, and then obviously with PCs, you know, you had ISOs and that kind of stuff. Even CDs, obviously, and DVDs, you can go to Asda, you can pick up 50 discs for like a £5. So these systems were all piratable. But I think nowadays, when you think of the current consoles, the Switch, it's on a cartridge. So again, your average Joe isn't going to be able to pirate them. I'm sure there is. I mean, I'm not interested in pirating games at all now. So the PlayStation 4 games are about 60 gig. So it's really not practical to download a 60 gig image and somehow burn it onto, you know, onto a DVD. I don't even know if a DVD player is commercially available to let you burn PlayStation 2 games, or PlayStation 4 games I should say. I don't know. I'm not interested. So I don't think, I'm sure there are die-hard pirates out there that probably do pirate it. I'm sure you could probably get a chip fitted to like the new Xbox or the PlayStation 4 and the Switch as well. I mean, I think the 3DS, you can hack it, you know what I mean? So all these kind of systems that are hackable, but for your average punter, he's not going to know about it. But yeah, I want to just talk about piracy. I mean, it was one of these things, like I said, it's always been there. I don't think it's quite so prevalent now. But yeah, for me, I'm just trying to think of my very, very first experience of piracy. It would be, and again, apologies. The thing is, guys, when I'm making these waffles, I've been making waffles for about 4 years, something like that. That's a lot of waffles. And I do genuinely run out of topics to talk about. I mean, I used to be able to, every week, I would just be able to say, right, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about that. Now, I really do struggle. And what I need to do, and I did start doing it and then I kind of stopped doing it, I need to start looking at old waffles, you know, because my channel, I generally talk about old stuff. I don't talk about modern stuff, really. So I could quite easily get away with regurgitating a video from like 4 years ago. Now I could technically just upload it and let you watch it again. It would obviously be me with a bit more hair and, you know, it's going to say a bit less grey, but I'm actually grey. If you look at some old videos, obviously I didn't dye my beard 4 years ago. Actually, probably younger now than I did back then. But anyway, if I was going to do a waffle, I would re-record it, you know, now rather than just kind of, I was going to say copy and pasting it. Rather than re-uploading a video, that would be a bit silly. Where am I going with this? I am completely losing my train of thought. Aye, anyway, back. Apologies if I'm repeating myself, because I do know that I do that quite a lot. My first experience of piracy would be 1983. I worked in Woolco, which was a large shop. It was like Woolworths, but it was like the superstore version. It sold everything. I had just started. I was working part time. And I had just recently bought my Commodore 64, and there was a guy I used to work with in Woolco, and we got talking about computers, and I think he was sort of asking me how many games did I have, and I think I maybe had about 10 games, and then he told me that he had something like, I don't know, 70, and I'm like, what? 70 games? Seriously, how can you afford all these games? And like the word pirate, when I think of pirates, it's like, you know, John Long Silver, Pirates of the Caribbean, you know, a guy in crutches with a parrot called Polly. Piracy wasn't a word that I associated with stealing software. But he told me you can actually make a copy of a game on a cassette. Now, obviously I knew what a cassette was because I used cassettes for downloading music off the radio, which was another form of piracy. So anyway, cut long story short, Brian came up to the house one day with a clutch of tapes, with the idea being I was going to, I was going to, copy the tapes, and I never actually got round to doing that. But basically, Brian came along with these tapes, and for a wee while, that was how I copied games. It was a tape to tape. You know, I can't even remember how I managed it, because I didn't have a tape to tape. I didn't have a tape to tape device, so I'm not sure how I actually copied them. The thing is, I didn't really generally copy many games in the very, very early days. Where I did start pirating games more was when I got a disc drive, because it was really easy to copy a disc, and I managed to befriend. In fact, I'll tell you how I managed to befriend them. I used to go to this computer club, and then I say computer club, it was a piracy club. Basically, everybody turned up with their own computers, and you know, we copied games. We would play the occasional game, but generally it was just a copying party. And when you've got a disc, it was dead easy. There was software. I can't even remember what it was called. There was a disc copying program on the Commodore 64. It read the disc. You took out your floppy disk, the source disk, put in a blank, and then it would write it to it. So that made copying really, really easy. I then, what did I get? I bought myself a thing called Freeze Frame, which was a cartridge which plugged into the back of the C64. And what that allowed you to do was load a game into the C64, whether it was a disc-based game, whatever, and there was a little red button which you pressed, and then it would come up. It would just literally come up, you know, for you to type a name. So Pac-Man, return, and it would just save what was in memory to the disc. It was really clever because you could have maybe up to about 10 games on one disc, depending on the sort of size. And it also put a wee menu, and they were turbo loading as well, so it was wonderful. But the thing is, when I think about it now, I actually didn't pirate many games. Most of the games that I used Freeze Frame on were games that I had bought. You know, I'd buy a cassette game. The ones that didn't work properly with, or it worked very limited, was multi-load games, because it would only load what was in the memory. So obviously, you know, multi-load games, you've got to keep loading them in each level. But for single load games, you know, stuff like Bruce Lee, Drop Zone, whatever, game loaded in and a winner, pressed the red button, saved it to disk. So that was excellent. So that was my piracy on the sort of Commodore 64. Then I moved across to the Atari ST, and at that point, you know, it was a brand new system. It was floppy disks. It kind of seemed like, you know, it was like the future. And piracy wasn't something that I even considered. I didn't think it was even a thing on you know, on Atari ST until my mate Grant befriended this young boy, and it sounds real dodgy, but there was nothing going on. Yeah, he befriended this guy Craig. Now Craig, we would be what, 18. Craig would maybe be 14. But for some reason, I don't know how, I've got no idea how, I think it might have been through his dad actually, Craig was able to get copied Atari ST games. Now, like I said, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know how I'd begin to copy an Atari ST game. But Craig managed to get all these new games that hadn't even been released in the UK. You know, bear in mind, the games back then were 25 quid, 25, 30 quid. So when we got to know Craig, it just like opened the doors to piracy. And the first thing we did was you ordered online. I mean, I don't think you could buy them. Sorry, I'm saying not order online. What am I talking about? The internet wasn't even out then. You would go to a magazine and there would always be like adverts in the back selling, you know, 50 discs. Now back then the discs were pretty expensive. It might have been like 50 discs for 50 quid. But the thing is, 50 discs was potentially 50 games. Now, you multiply 50 games times £30, you know, that's a lot of money. You're talking about thousands of pounds worth of software. So I got blank discs, as did my mate Ian, as did my mate Grant. And we would go up to Craig's house and we would just sit and copy his discs. The thing is, he eventually kind of cottoned on that we were taking advantage of him, possibly. And so what used to happen, he would say, he kind of wised up and he stopped kind of just giving us all these discs. So what he would say to me was, I would phone him, oh, can I come up tonight, Craig? And what he would ask me what game I had to give him. And, you know, I didn't have any way of copying games. All the copied games I had were games that he gave me, so I didn't have any bargaining tools. I mean, that's how kind of piracy worked back then. You had to kind of bargain. You know, I would give you a copy of this and he would give you a copy of that. So the only bargaining tools that I had was I would have to go out and buy a game. And sometimes Craig would say, oh, I really fancy this game. And I would buy it just because Craig wanted a copy of it. And then in return, I would maybe get 20 games or something. But then I always remember one time Craig said to me, oh, I really want, I don't know, say Street Fighter or something like that, Street Fighter 2. Excuse me a little second. What's this? This is making a lot of noise. Hang on a wee second. Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah, anyway, sorry. What was I gibbering about? So there was this one time Craig said to me, yeah, I'd really fancy like Street Fighter 2, whatever it was, I can't remember, it wasn't Street Fighter 2, but so I went and bought the game, and then I went up to his house, and I said, oh, you know, here's Street Fighter 2, and he's like, I've already got it. I went, alright, okay. And because he had it, he wouldn't give me anything. So I'd basically bought this bloody game to give him, but then he'd obviously got a copy of it in between, so he refused to give me anything. So, yeah, that was the Atari ST. I then progressed onto the Commodore Amiga, and again, the early days, we kind of, you know, Craig used to, I don't know how he managed it, but he had kind of contacts. He would get all these discs that had been cracked, the Red Baron, all these kind of crackers, you know, and for your average kind of pleb like myself, I had no way of getting these discs, but Craig had contacts. So Craig used to give us quite a lot of stuff again until he eventually wised up. So what we had to then do was we would say to Craig, do you want to go out and have a game of pool? We would take him to the pool hall and play pool with him, and in return he would give us, so it was what's the word for it? Can't remember. There's a word for it where we basically fed off each other. We entertained him, taking him to pool. I think he thought it was quite cool because we were a wee bit older, so I think he thought it was quite cool that he's got kind of older mates. But yeah, we would take him to play pool, and in return he would give us games. So that worked. Until eventually, I think he just became a complete arse, and you know, I think he just stopped giving us games. I'm saying he became an arse. Maybe we were the parasites, I don't know. But anyway, everything changed a few months later when my mate Grant told me that you could buy copied games at a marketplace. Now, there was an open air market called Ingleston, which is about 10 miles outside Edinburgh. And it opened, I don't know when Ingleston Market opened. I reckon it probably opened in the 70s. It's a massive open air market. You could buy everything. You could buy clothes. It was, a lot of stuff was like, I wouldn't say it was knocked off, but it was like copied stuff. So instead of like Calvin Klein jeans or whatever, or Levi's, you would get like a cheapo version. And you know, your mum would take you there to get your school uniform, because you got things. You could get a leather jacket for like about 50 quid, you know, whereas if you went to a shop you'd pay maybe 100 quid. So it was really, really good for stuff like that. But with the advent of computers, there were some unscrupulous people soon realised that there was a fast buck to be made. So shortly after, there was people selling Amiga discs, and that was like, you know, it was just like all my Christmases had come at once. So me and Grant went through to Ingleston Market, and there was all these stalls selling copied games. Now the thing is, in the early days, it was you would go up, you would have a stand, and you would literally just have books, big lists of games, and you would just basically go through and say, right, I want Jimmy White's Snooker, I want whatever, Lure of the Tempest, blah 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 blah. One disc I think was £5. A 2-disc game was maybe £7.50. A 3-disc game was like £10. Whatever it was something like that. So it was very, they were very blatant about what they were doing. They were openly advertising that they were selling copied games. But then as time wore on, the guys started to get a wee bit cleverer. So instead of just having a book, they would put out some original games and maybe a couple of joysticks as if they were selling them. And then you would just basically say to the guy, have you got your list? And the guy knew what you're talking about, and he'd go underneath the counter, he would hand you this list again of the games, and you'd pick what you wanted, and you know, he would hand them over, you'd give your money, and away you went. But then the police obviously got to know that there was people selling games, so these guys had to try and be a wee bit cleverer. Now there was one stall in particular which I'll never ever forget, and the guy that used to own it was a guy called Brian. Now I'm talking, what would it be, 1992, something like that. No, 1990 probably. Now I would be, what would I be, 23 years old. Now Brian would probably be, I reckon he'd probably be in his 40s. He was grey hair, grey beard, and he had all these scars on his face. And to put it mildly, you would not want to mess with him. You would absolutely would not want to mess with him. So he would sell the games, and then after a while, his sons started to work behind it. It became a family affair, and then eventually his daughters even started working. I mean, it became so busy. I'm surprised he didn't actually open up a second stall, but it was a complete production line. There would maybe be Brian. In fact, eventually old Brian stopped working there. He'd probably drop the kids off, and then he was probably at the other open air market selling stuff. But yeah, it was a family affair. You know, there would be maybe one or two. The girls they were like the eye candy, because I always remember I fancied Brian's daughter. She was lovely, but you daren't even look at her because he would just probably kick the shit out of you if he saw you looking at his daughter. But yeah, there would be like his two daughters would serve you, and then behind the scenes there would be Brian Jr. and his brother. They would be making the copied games. So that was how it worked. then when it started to get even, you know, the police were getting more and more involved. In fact, probably at that point, I think the Amiga had died and we were on to PC games. Now, the PC games, it was generally, I don't remember ever getting any floppy disks for the PC, but it was when CDs first came out. And instead of just getting like one game in a CD, you would get a compilation disc, and it would have maybe 50 games and maybe 30 utilities. And you know, when you actually looked at the software that one of these discs had, it would maybe have like £10,000 worth of software. And the disc, I can't remember how much the disc was. I think the disc was maybe £10 to begin with, which, looking at them now, you think that's a lot of money. But to somebody back in 1995, bearing in mind a PC game was probably 40 quid, to pay £10 and get 50 games, it was a no-brainer. So they brought out all these cracking groups, brought out all these different, they all had their own sort of compilation discs. The only ones I can remember was Mr. Blobby, just because Mr. Blobby was a thing back in the 1990s. But yes, you had Mr. Blobby 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it was. Then the other cracking groups had their own sort of version of compilation discs. So you'd go to Brian's stall, and like I said, things had moved on. The police were kind of sniffing about. I mean, there was a couple of times where we turned up and Brian was nowhere to be seen. And then the following Sunday, Brian would be there and be like, "What happened to you?" "Oh, I got raided with the police." So he literally got raided, and all the police, I think the only power the police had was to confiscate what they actually had. So they maybe lost, I don't know, 1,000 discs. But then the next week, they were back there again with more discs. So they never, I mean, these guys like Brian must have made an absolute fortune, because in the heyday with piracy, you had to queue for half an hour to get seen. There was masses and masses of people, and eventually there were stalls all over the place. Everybody in their auntie had a computer stall. So anyway, yeah, Brian's stall kind of moved on. It stopped. It got to a point where you no longer went to the front desk to get served. It was quite an intricate setup. There was a tarpaulin at the back of the back of the stall, and you basically pulled the tarpaulin back and you queued behind this tarpaulin. So basically nobody actually saw you. Unless you knew that people were there, you wouldn't think anybody was behind you, if you know what I mean. So you used to stand in this queue, and there was always loads of people. It was always, I don't know, I always felt, I don't know, a lot of the people I used to see, I always felt like they were kind of scum. Yeah, I was no better than them. You know, there was like snotty-nosed kids, and there was guys in their 50s and all that. There was all kinds of, there was very, very rarely any girls. It was generally guys that you saw buying pirated games. But yeah, so you'd stand behind this tarpaulin, then you'd get to the front, you'd be like, "What you want?" "Oh, I want that disc, and that disc." And what they would do is they would actually they would copy them there and then. But then when the police started sniffing around, they basically had all the copied discs in a car so that nobody could see them. And what they would do is they would pick up, it wasn't a mobile phone, I think it was a radio, you know, radio walkie-talkie things. They would radio in your order to the guy in the car park. He would go into his car boot, take out the discs, bring them over, he'd hand your cash over, away you went. So that was the PC discs. Then of course everything changed when the PlayStation came along. I mean, the PlayStation was hacked very quickly. I bought a PlayStation when it came out, and I'm sure it was probably within 6 months I got a chip fitted to it. Now it cost me about 100 quid, and again we had to take it to this marketplace in Glasgow called the Barras, which is still there, and these guys fitted this computer chip, and again you could get copied games for like £5, and again Brian and family, they all jumped in the bandwagon, and it was all copied discs. I mean, it became an addiction for me. You know, every Sunday I would look at the magazine. There was no such thing as internet back then. I'd look at the magazine. I would pick maybe 5 games that I wanted. My mate Grant, we'd pick a number of games, we'd both go along together, we'd get 10 games between us, come back to his house, we would copy the game, his games, I would get a copy of his games, he would copy my games. So basically, you would buy like 5 games, it maybe cost you 25 quid, and you'd get 10 games back. So that's how it went on, and the thing is, it stopped. I call it PlayStation syndrome. Basically, because I had so many discs, I mean, I must have had hundreds and hundreds of games for it. I simply never played it. I never ever played the PlayStation. Maybe there was a handful of games that I played, and I've got to say to this day, the piracy side of things absolutely killed the PlayStation for me. So then, when the PlayStation 2 came along, I never pirated that. I did pirate the Xbox, the original Xbox, because by this point I had, what did I have? I had a CD burner. I mean, CD burners were commonplace. I mean, I first got my CD burner probably 2000. So yeah, I had broadband, and you know, I always maintain that super fast internet, what is it used for? Companies, service providers would say it's used for streaming media, but I don't know, I think a lot of people use it for piracy. But I was guilty of that. I would download games. I used to download Dreamcast games, I'd download Xbox games. I was able to burn them onto my own CDs, because when you think back to like the early CD systems, like the CD32, the Neo Geo CD, then you had even the Sega Saturn, all these really early, the 3DO, all these early systems, CDs, you couldn't, your average, you know, man in the street like myself, you couldn't really go and buy a pack of CDs out of, you know, PC World. Back then, you could maybe order them online. Well, online wasn't a thing again at that point, but there were, you know, a CD was probably 20 quid to buy, or maybe more than that. So the sheer price of the media was enough to make people not pirate. So piracy wasn't really a thing, I don't think, when it came to like some of the early CD systems. But then by the time the PlayStation came along, and the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, you could get a pack of 100 CDs for like, I don't know, 10 quid. You know, you're paying pennies for them. So I did pirate the Xbox, I pirated the PlayStation. One of the systems which I pirated, and is probably one of the most common pirated systems. I mean, the PlayStation became mega popular. Everybody in their auntie was fitting chips to their PlayStation. Was not the 3DS, the Nintendo DS. There was a card that came out called the R4 card, and basically you could put games onto this. And obviously back then you could maybe get like a 4 gig SD card. And because the DS came on cartridge form, there was clever people who managed to hack the games, and the games were maybe only like 4 meg in size. So a 4 gig memory card would maybe hold 200 games, and because we had super fast broadband, you could download all these games. I ended up with virtually every, you know, Nintendo DS game on my computer, and I could just put them onto this R4 card. I had maybe 150 games on this R4 card, and I would switch it on, and I would just go bump, 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 bump. I would just cycle through games and end up playing nothing. And so for that reason, the Nintendo DS as a system was kind of killed, stone dead, because of piracy. I had so many games for it. When the Xbox 360 came along, you know, I did eventually get a chip fitted on it. I don't know why. I had the chance of getting it fitted, but I did it. But I always bought games. I always bought my Xbox 360 games. Same with the PlayStation 3. Again, back then, you know, images were available, but to download an Xbox 360 game, you would need a super, super fast broadband, and at that point I didn't have that. But again, I had disposable income when the Xbox 360 was out, so I was quite happy to buy games. And now, you know, you can go into CX and pick up all these games for like absolute pennies. And so yeah, really, I would say probably the last system I really pirated would have probably been the Xbox, the original Xbox. The Nintendo DS, Didn't pirate the PlayStation 2 at all. I did pirate the Dreamcast, because that stopped kind of being a thing pretty early on. By the time I got a Dreamcast, the actual Dreamcast wasn't a viable product when it came to commercial stuff. So I did pirate games on the Dreamcast, but now I don't think piracy is really a thing. Two reasons: games are so massive, so to download a game would be silly, and I don't think the technology is available for your average punter to actually burn a disc. You know. Secondly, games are so cheap. I mean, when you think of games, there's a lot of, when you've got things like, you know, the PlayStation Plus, for £7 a month, £7.99 a month, or whatever it's cost, you've got access to 3 games, free games I should say, which kind of nullifies the pirate side of things, because you've got all these games. Then you've got things like your phone, your iPad, your tablets. Games are free. Yeah, you might have to download, you know, if you want to buy extra, you know, currency, whatever, you've got to spend money. But games have become so cheap nowadays, that I think piracy has just sort of fizzled away. It's an interesting thing that actually, when you think about that, yeah, I mean, piracy has always been here. It's always been a thing in games, but I would imagine that now it's not a thing anymore. Yeah, you're always going to get your die-hard geeks who, you know, to save themselves a few quid will download a game. But your average punter, I just don't think would even think about piracy. I personally wouldn't even know how to run a pirate game in a PlayStation 4. I'm not interested. Partly, I guess, you know, I've now got the sort of disposable income to play games. Maybe another part as well is I don't play new games, so I've probably got about 100 games for my Xbox 360, all originals, and I've hardly played any of them, so I don't see any point in starting to copy games, because it's games that I'm simply not going to play. So, but yeah, anyway, that's kind of my experience of piracy. Am I proud of it? Not at all. Am I ashamed of it? Partly, you know. I think, and it's not an excuse, but it's a reason. The reason people pirated games, especially when we were younger, was, you know, the money side of things. We didn't have a lot of money. I was maybe slightly more, I was better off than a lot of kids, because I was an adult and I had kind of disposable income, but not very much. But it's the age-old thing. If somebody offers you lots of stuff for free, I'll just take it, you know. One thing I can put my hand on my heart and say I have never ever done, I have never ever profited money-wise out of piracy. I've never sold a pirate game in my life, ever. I wouldn't do that, you know. Even back then when I was copying games, I never had a problem lacing the pockets of pirates, you know, because I was giving them 25 quid and getting back 5 games, you know, in return. Looking back, yeah, that's not right. These guys made a shitload of money out of theft, and that's what it is. But yeah, I was a very active pirate for many years, and it was just, you know what, it was just one of these things that we did. Nowadays, I wouldn't dream of doing it. I mean, I don't have time to play games, you know what I mean? But yeah, like I says, piracy, it's a thing that's always been here. It's been here from day one, and like I said, I don't think it's really something that's quite so prevalent nowadays. But anyway, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts and the experiences and anecdotes and tales about piracy, because chances are, if you're watching this channel, you like video games, and chances are at some point or another you probably did download a game, or you copied it off your mate, or you bought a hooky copy from the open air market. But anyway, let me sort of hear all your comments and stories, guys. I'm going to wrap this Friday Waffle up. Yeah, as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching it. And as always, thank you very much for watching.